Let's move to another area. Chris Shays, I don't like to toot my own horn, but back in the early 90s, I did the famous Perot-Gore debate, which changed the attitude and got NAFTA passed. In fact, Bill Clinton called me the day after and said, I owe you big time. All right, now.
You know, Larry, you know why we owe you big time? Because you're not a partisan. You don't try to persuade people one way or the other. You give your people on your program an opportunity to state what they think. No, you are an unusual person, especially in this day and age.
All right, Congressman Shays, what do you make about the... What? Thank you, Chris. What do you make, Congressman Shays, about the new deal of NAFTA, U.S., Canada, and Mexico?
Well, I am grateful as can be that there is an agreement. I question if it's all that different. You know, it's almost like I have a feeling that President Trump just wants to be able to call it the Trump trade agreement instead of NAFTA. But at any rate, you know, there are trade agreements that need to be changed, and he's obviously caught the spirit of the American people who believe that. But I'm just grateful there's an agreement. Let me put it that way.
All right, Chris Lou, what are your thoughts on this new NAFTA?
Well, I agree completely with Congressman Shays. This feels like another Donald Trump manufactured crisis where he's basically taken most of the existing elements of NAFTA, sprinkled in some things from the Trans-Pacific Partnership Agreement that he pulled out of, and then is repackaging it as his own deal. Look, free trade is a good thing. It's especially good with our neighbors, Canada and Mexico. But I'm frankly a little skeptical that this new agreement is very much different than the one that he's been bashing on the campaign trail for the last couple of years.
Christopher Shays, the president says the new deal means hundreds of thousands of American jobs. You agree?
Who knows? I mean, you know, the president says so many things that aren't true that then that's his problem. Then when do you believe him, when don't you? I hope it does.
Will Congress ratify it next year, Mr. Liu?
I hope so, but obviously, you know, trade agreements are difficult there, and trade agreements don't neatly break down on party lines, and you have just as many folks in the Democratic Party and Republican Party that don't like free trade agreements, and so it's going to really require the president rolling up his sleeves and working with members of Congress to try to get them on board. But trade agreements are never easy to get passed.
And Larry, if I could just jump in, this is the danger that we face with this president. Trade is absolutely essential. You can have nationalism and self-interest, and that leads to war, in my judgment, or you can start to have people think in more global terms about interacting and the importance of having good relationships with your neighbor. That's trade.
Well, do you think enough Republicans agree with you, Chris Shays?
Yes.
You do?
Yep.
Chris Liu, do you think the party will stand with do you think he'll get this through?
You know, I think Chris Shays makes an important point. I mean, look, we can stipulate that there were some issues with NAFTA that needed to be addressed, but this was a trade agreement that got done in a very difficult fight, you know, 25 years ago. Not clear that the improvements that have been made, again, the details haven't been announced, whether the improvements that have been made justify trying to have another fight in Congress right now. As I said, the politics of trade are very complicated, and they don't neatly break down by party lines.